Hi, everyone. I'm Webster with SAG-AFTRA Foundation, and we are here today for another one of our conversations at home. I did want to remind everyone that we are continuing our COVID-19 Fund, which is raising money for SAG-AFTRA Foundation members who are out of work due to all the closed productions at the moment, and the information for this is in the video description below, so please check that out and consider donating if you are able to. For our conversations at home today, we are joined by the wonderful Danielle Macdonald, who had an amazing part and an amazing turn in the show Unbelievable, so we're here today to chat about that. Thank you so much for joining us today, Danielle. How you're saying that you're hunkered down in LA. How is your day-to-day looking at the moment?
Yeah, thanks for having me. I am in LA. Day to day is, I guess it's weird because the life of an actor, it's like you go to a job and you're insanely busy and working, and then you can come back and you have this downtime between jobs. And so it almost kind of feels like that a little bit, but just without the being able to see any one part of it. So I think I know how to like motivate myself and keep myself busy during this time, which I feel like I'm really lucky for. Whereas I have friends that have 9 to 5s and they're like, what do I do in this time? I'm like, okay, here's how you keep focused, I guess. But I'm doing okay. I'm quarantining with my 2 roommates. So we're just getting through, and we're just keeping busy every day. And yeah.
That's great. Is there anything that you're doing that's kind of keeping you feeling like you're really connected to your craft as an actor still? Or is it just that kind of in-between job feeling where you're just kind of taking a little bit of downtime and separating in between? Or how are you thinking about everything on that side of things?
I have actually been like running scenes with friends via Zoom, actually, which I think is really funny. Like, my friend had to put down an audition tape. He's in San Francisco, and we're like, I've never ran lines with someone for like an audition tape via Zoom while you're recording, but it worked out really well. So I feel like we're still doing that. Like, we're all still helping each other via the internet. And I'm also writing just to kind of keep busy in that sense, which makes me happy. So, and still reading a lot of scripts. So I feel like I'm keeping creative in that way.
Yeah.
I
what
draw
things do you like writing?
Scripts, but not that anyone has seen any. I don't exactly show anyone, but I just enjoy it. So my friend and I are writing something right now, and we're just editing. And then my roommate and I have just started writing something. So it's good just to keep you focused, and I don't know, like, you're constantly doing the scenes, like acting them out to see if it works and stuff like that. So I feel like I'm still acting every day while I do that as well, which is nice. So I feel like I'm still keeping really creative with it, which is a really good feeling, because otherwise you go a little stir crazy.
Yeah, definitely. I think that all sounds great. I wanted to dive into talking to you about Unbelievable, the miniseries on Netflix. And one of the things I thought was so interesting was that you actually signed on to it before your character appeared. So it was only the first episode script, which you start appearing in all of the episodes starting episode 2. And what was it that was so unique and different about this project? Because that's such a rare thing for an actor to do.
If you've seen the pilot, you know exactly what the show is about. And I think the biggest thing for me was, if I was going to be a part of something like this, which I really wanted this story to be told in the right way. And I really wanted to make sure that like the entire show and production was telling this with like integrity and authenticity, and just really doing something right for the people that have experienced this rather than mistelling. And I think that was what is really hard to gauge. But I read the pilot script and I felt exactly what Marie was going through. Like, I felt it when I was reading it, and I was like, okay, they know what they're doing here. They're doing this from her perspective. It's her story, and I can feel that. And that was really beautiful. And I also read the article, the ProPublica article, and I listened to the podcast. And I also spoke to the creatives about like where the show was going, and I knew who was attached to produce and create. And I was like, okay, this sounds like the team that you want to be with. And it sounds like the story that deserves to be told. And so I honestly just felt really lucky being able to sign on to do something like this.
Yeah, because you were mentioning the perspective of it, and the show is so much told from the viewpoint of, sexual assault survivors, which, and the show doesn't question them, which feels really important. And I was interested in how that perspective informed the way that it was filmed and the way that you guys would all think about your performances in that way.
I mean, for me, like researching as an actor, I found that to be a huge part of it, because obviously I read the pilot script and how Marie dealt with it. And then when I was reading how Amber dealt with it, there wasn't that much information. And the podcast you hear, she was fine. She spoke to me, gave me all the details, and she was fine. I was like, what does that mean? Because you're not just fine, but so that really got me into researching all different kinds of trauma and the way that people deal with things. And then it made so much sense. It clicked, because it's not just fine. It's like there's this entire world going on inside of you, this war raging, and you have to be fine. You have to get through it. You have to cope. You have to deal. And I found that really fascinating. So I think that we all really saw, I mean, I don't want to speak for anyone else, but I think that we all really just found the journey that each of our characters had gone through, and then getting to see it all pieced together, we were like, oh wow, this is all so different. Like everyone really reacts differently. And I think that when we were filming we had 3 different directors, and then we had our producers, and I think that they all had such a great understanding of the way that each of these women reacted, and understanding of these characters, that they knew exactly kind of what needed to go in to filming it. So I felt like we all did have actually different experiences filming, but I think that was also based on the characters we were playing, which is really interesting and cool, because I think that they had such a great understanding for the characters in the same way that we did, which was nice. It's nice to feel like they understand what is happening exactly, like what this character is going through versus just like what's happening in the scene. It's like they understand the emotional component of it, which was really nice. And it was very smooth, the transition between the 3 different directors. I felt like it flowed, and the characters were still streamlined, and everyone still understood and was on the same page, even though we had 3 different styles of directors, which is really cool. I've never worked with multiple directors on, this is my first time recurring on a show. So it was the first time I had actually worked with multiple directors with the same character. And that was actually really fascinating for me.
Yeah, it also seems like it was a really interesting choice that Lisa Cholodenko did the first 3 episodes, and then Susanna Grant did the last 2, who's also, showrunner on it. And to really kind of bookend as you're learning the characters, and then once you know them so well. So kind of how important was that to your process in working with different directors?
It was really cool. I think the really great thing was because Susanna was there every day from the beginning. So by the end, I felt, I just came in I was only in 1 scene with Susanna, which was funny, because sometimes when you can just jump in for 1 scene, you're like, wait, I don't know you. This is interesting, because I was also, I think almost all of my stuff was with Lisa, but I had a couple of things with Mike, who did the middle 3 episodes, and I just jumped in. We were really short on time that day. I remember when I came in, it was like, okay, let's get to these scenes. Go. And I was like, wow, I've never met you before. This is just such a, this is TV, we're on the run, we're going quickly. Whereas the first 3 kind of felt slower, because I think we were also really dealing with, we were actually doing all of the sexual assault scenes with Lisa. So I think there was also like a slowness to that. They really gave us as much time as we needed with those scenes. And then the show kind of picks up, and it's becoming more of a police investigation. And so I think that was in the scenes that I was doing in the middle, and I was like, wow, this is like a different pacing entirely, and it's a whole different style. But then when I got to where Susanna was concluding the show, I felt like I'd known her for so long, because she'd been there from day one. It was so easy to just like slip in for this 1 scene and be out. And I was like, it felt really right to be able to bring all the characters together in a room and just really give them something. I don't know. It felt like I believe I was not originally in that final scene in the courtroom. there was actually a different scene where I found out. And then they changed it. And I'm really glad they did, because it felt really right getting to give Amber that moment. Just having that moment, giving all the characters their moment of just seeing that and like just this relief or this release, I guess, of everything that you're holding and waiting for. I don't know. I'm really glad they did that.
Yeah, and because, you know, you were mentioning just now briefly the assault scene that took place that Lisa Cholodenko directed, I was interested for you and the actor that you were playing against, like what were some of the important things for you to establish before you went into filming, and the way that preparing for shooting that scene was very different to anything else that you were doing in the show?
Well, I felt horrible for him, which actually helped me, I think, because he had only been on one day of the show before he did the scene with me. So he'd only filmed one day so far, and that day had been his assault scene with Caitlin. And then his second day was his assault scene with me. And then I believe his next day was another assault scene. I was like, I feel horrendous for you, because it's incredibly difficult being on the receiving end, but he is such a lovely, sweet person. Having to play that has got to be so incredibly difficult. And then just coming on a set where we've all been kind of meeting each other and working, that's got to be so hard. And so I think I felt like this weird protectiveness of him, which ended up really helping me get through it and be mentally strong, if that made sense. So we spoke at lunch. We had lunch together before, and we just spoke about what he's comfortable with, what I'm comfortable with, and honestly just kind of got to know each other just a little bit, so that there was just a respect and just an understanding and a comfortability between us. And I think that everyone does it very differently. I think that everyone likes to approach these scenes very differently. Like some people don't want to know the other person at all. For me, I feel like I'm going to go to such a dark, vulnerable place with it. It is very nice to know that there is a safety. It's like, we are on a set. This is not real. People actually had to experience this. And that is terrifying. And I am just here to tell that story. And that helps you not get like so in your head and get carried away with it. It's like, this is someone else's story that I'm sharing. So
yeah. And what were some of the ways that Lisa and Susanna kind of made that a really safe and comfortable space and made it the most conducive for you guys to work out the scene the way that you wanted to and needed to together?
I mean, we had, first of all, the whole day to do it. I think we had another scene scheduled for later that day, and they're like, don't worry about that. We're just going to push that. I was like, okay, great. And we ended up, it took a really long time. We filmed it, I think, for like 8 hours or something like that, which is a really long time to kind of be in that headspace. But at the same time, it was because the scene is in flashes. It is in flashbacks. So the best thing that we were able to do was do it in flashbacks, which means you're in it, but there were ways of making it just like slightly more comfortable, I guess, if that's even a way to put it. But our DP was incredible. She would come up to me and tell me exactly what we're going to see within each shot. And I mean, everyone in wardrobe was incredible. They were on hand, ready. They're like, we've got robes. Like, okay, so what can we dress you in? So in this scene, we're just seeing a leg here. So let's dress you in this, and then we'll like keep your leg bare. And then in the next one, it's like, okay, we're putting you in pants, and then you're gonna. So they were so amazing and really just wanted to make me as comfortable in a really uncomfortable situation as possible. And there was also a lot of camera techniques, because it was all from Amber's perspective, that, you know, I had a camera like balancing on my head basically. And so it's a weirdly vulnerable position. I'm just like laying there mostly naked with, you know, a camera kind of balancing on your head, a 50-pound camera. And you're like, I don't know quite how to deal with this, but they talked me through every single shot before we did it. And that's how you get through it, because people are there and supportive, and you can feel that. And that makes you comfortable in the sense that you can get through it, that you are actually safe in this environment. And I think that that's so important to have on a set.
Yeah, and in general, I was also just curious about your headspace overall in making this, because I imagine, you were talking about the vulnerability that you had to go to with that particular scene, but it really transcends to every scene throughout the show for you. And was there a difference in how you thought about the space that you wanted before you were going in to film a scene, or just in general, the way that you would either keep the character with you or let go of it at the end of the day to normal?
I found it, so I've mostly done film. I did some like guest stars early in my career, but aside from that, mostly I've just had more luck in film, I guess. It's not necessarily on purpose, but so this was my first time doing a show for an extended period of time. And I think that when I do a film, often it's not in LA for a start. So I'm leaving my life and you're on set every day and it's just this like constant thing. It becomes your whole world. Whereas with this, we shot in LA. So I was going home every night. And because I was recurring, I would have like days to myself. And I'm like, great. Okay, so I'm me and I'm living my life. And then you go into set and you're going into this crazy different headspace. And then you're going back to your life and then back into this headspace. And that was a first for me. I hadn't actually had that kind of experience before. So that was really different. And it was difficult to figure out and to understand, honestly. I'm really lucky that I have amazing friends. And so when it was an incredibly tough day on set, I'd come back and they would take me out of that headspace. Because sometimes it's hard to just snap out, especially when you're going back and forth like that. But I don't know. It's like it stays with you because you know that you're telling this story that actually happened, and what these people went through really affects you. You have a lot of understanding and empathy, I think. So it stayed with me just knowing that this exists in the world, and that's terrifying. But at the same time, I wouldn't stay in character or anything like that. I don't think I could function as me if I did that, with the amount of time and the amount of like off periods you have during this. So I don't know. It's just finding a balance, honestly.
Yeah. I wanted to talk a little bit as well about your on-screen relationship with Merritt Wever, who plays the detective who is there for you throughout the process. And, I think there's been a huge response to the way that that case was dealt with compared to, Marie's and the Caitlin Dever story that we see. And it's so stunning to watch on screen, the two of you playing off against each other in that way. And there's so much intimacy to it, with these two women who don't know each other. And I was curious about kind of how the two of you wanted to set that up together and what sort of conversations you had in forming that before you went into shooting.
I love Merritt. She's one of these people that I don't know how to explain it. She's just brilliant. I don't think she's aware how brilliant she is either, which just makes her more brilliant. But she's just this calming energy, just as a person. Like she just feels very stable and calm. And just, I think from the moment I met her, she just came up and hugged me. And I was like, I'm going to be fine. Like, I don't know, coming into set on the first day is always unnerving because an entirely new set of people that you've never met before. And you never exactly know what to expect. And the moment she did that, I was like, oh, wow, I feel so calm. She just kind of has that power. So walking in, I instantly felt like I just had an understanding with her. And she was amazing because she just keeps that throughout. She has this like strong protective instinct, it feels like, but then she's also got this really calming energy about her. So honestly, we didn't really need to even go through the relationship that much. I feel like we figured that out on set. It was more just being comfortable with each other, and also it's so clear. Like, I don't know how to explain this. The writing is so clear. I feel like there are times where I'm a little confused or my co-star is a little confused just because we're trying to figure out the character and the story, and we'll have to talk and completely like figure things out. Even if it's clear, we're like, we can't wrap our heads around it. This was one of those cases where it's here and like we both are coming in with our things and just understand each other instantly. And it was really nice. It just clicked. So we came in first day and we started our scenes and I was like, oh, we completely understand each other. I understand how she's approaching this and she understands how I'm approaching this. And then it was just easy after that. Mm-hmm. And it was nice. It just felt comfortable. Like when we're not filming, it was just comfortable. And it was just, it kept that energy. And that was really, really nice because it felt safe, honestly. Yeah.
Yeah. I want to talk a little bit as well because, obviously we're talking about how, trauma causes a lot of different responses in people, but I also think there's a really beautiful way in which you play out the quiet strength of this character. At the beginning when she is saying everything's fine and she's not talking about it, that's self-preservation. That's like what she does to get through the moment. Or, when she finally opens up and tells one of her friends or, her boyfriend. And I was just interested in how you thought about that thread of the way that her strength was going to quietly seep through as well.
That was honestly really nice. That was really I didn't know where the script was going because I didn't have the script, but they gave me a brief outline of where this went, and it really actually helped me shape it at the beginning, knowing that's where it was going. Mm-hmm. So I think when I approached it, it was really the understanding that, in a time, for me personally, I have no idea how I would react in this situation, but in a time of stress, I tend to go towards, I have to do this. I have to get through it. That's how I function. That's how I process. So there was an understanding in, you have to be okay right now. Like, you have to deal with this. Like, these are the points that matter. And this is how you do it. Like, this guy has to be caught. So in my brain, it was, this guy has to be caught. This, and this are going to help that happen. And this is my responsibility. And then as you do your job, and then it's like, wait, I did everything. And now you're waiting. And that's where it starts to be like, what else can I do? And how do I deal with this? Because I'm just trying to hold on until, I don't know, this all magically fixes itself and he's caught and it's fine. And it may never be fine. That's the thing. This might be something that you're dealing with forever. And that is so incredibly difficult. But it also was this nice release in understanding how the emotion came out and how the trauma came out and how it played out over time, and the difference between being okay and not being okay. And both are okay. Both are acceptable. Like, it's okay to deal with trauma however you need to deal with it. And I think that's what the show does so nicely, is it allows that. It's saying it's okay. And like, you will be believed either way. And that's what is so hard with the Marie story. It's like, she wasn't. And I think we're saying, like, police need to be more informed about different, like, understanding trauma and the different ways that people react. And with that knowledge, people will be believed and they will be able to cope. And maybe something amazing like these cops did, they can come together and catch someone, which is amazing.
Yeah. Has there been a difference with the connectivity and the response and the types of things that people have shared with you in relation to your character in this story from other roles that you've played?
Yeah, I think there always is. It's funny the different responses you get based on the different characters you play, which is funny because I'm like, I'm the same person, but at the same time, doing these roles does give me a different understanding than I had before, because you really do research and you really do have empathy and understanding. And so I understand how that happens. And I feel like I understand better when people talk to me about it or approach me about any of the roles I play. I understand because I felt it, if that makes sense, in a different way. I mean, yeah, it's funny the different reactions I'll get. Like with Dumplin', there's a lot of, wow, I feel like I have like a lot of self-acceptance and this helped me grow. And I was like, I completely understand that, like completely. And then with Bird Box, there was like a lot of hate. And like at the same time, everyone's like, I hate you. And I was like, wow, I don't understand this. But I get that you're reacting to a character, and it's funny because you just wrap your head around it and you're like, okay, I get it. And so with this, I think I was a little bit more prepared with that. I understand. I was like, oh, this is how people react. And so with this, I think I understood a little bit better before it happened. And it's incredible for anyone to open up about this. It's got to be your choice whether you want to or not. And so when people do, all you can do is be there and listen, and always do that.
Yeah, one of the other roles I wanted to ask you a little bit about was Patti Cakes, which is such a brilliant film. I remember like seeing it at Sundance, and every single person, it was like all industry people coming out but singing along to like all the songs that they put in the movie, which was great. But I love that Jeremy Jasper, when he first kind of envisioned you in that role, that was something that you kind of personally felt was so far outside of everything that you've done before. And, it was obviously going to be a huge challenge to take on that role, and with all the work that was going to go into it. But I was curious how that really has evolved and opened up the way that you think about potential roles, and the way that you put yourself forward for things, or that you consider roles that people are sending you as a result.
It definitely does. It definitely does. Because I think when something seems incredibly difficult or impossible, I'm like, well, remember how that one felt. But I don't know. I mean, it's funny because Jeremy's belief in me in that role, I think, is what got me through that shoot. Because I was like, I don't know that I believe. Like, I definitely did. At first, it took a long time, though. It took time for me to do that. It was also like my first like full lead in a film and that kind of stuff. So it was kind of just like this whole new crazy experience for me. But that was so much fun. Like still, I still see everyone involved in that production, which is so nice. It actually feels like a family because we went through so much for so long together. But it definitely does change the way I approach roles now. Like sometimes I think, there's no way I can play this. And they're like, oh, and then I'm like, okay, wait, stop, think, can I actually? So, I still have the same gut reaction that I'm like, okay, wait, stop, don't limit yourself and have a look and see. And that's really cool. I don't know that I will ever get another script quite as wild or wacky or different from myself as that one. But that was truly just, I think you always want something like that in your career, just something so different from you that you just learn so much about yourself. I learned so much about myself. That's the thing. I think it changed me as a person in a really good way. Like it opened up parts of me that I hadn't really explored before or really knew about. And that is an incredible feeling as a person. I just feel like I'm learning and growing as I get to play all these kinds of roles. And I love that. So I don't know. That's always going to be like such a special place in my heart, that film.
Yeah. I imagine that, being an Australian actress and then forging a career in the States, that you always knew that dialect work was going to be a big part of your career, because more often than not, you're going to be doing an accent. But also kind of specifically with that role, you were also rapping in an accent as well. And so were there kind of like new ways and new processes that you had to figure that out and navigate how to do that?
Yeah, because it's an actual joke amongst my friends about the fact that like I'm musically inept. They're like, you're never sing. And I'm like, I know. Okay, I know. But so when this happened and I was like, I'm going to rap for a movie, they were all like, oh my gosh, what? No, that's going to be terrible. And I think a bunch of my best friends came to Sundance to watch Patti Cakes at the premiere. And they were like crying and like clapping and everything at the end. And I was like, let's be real. This is partly because you're just shocked I was able to do it. And they're like, totally. I'm just like, you actually could. It's really funny. So I think overcoming that was such a challenge that almost adding in the Jersey accent, I'm like, okay, I can do that. If I learn how to rap, I can figure out the accent, because that is the thing that really was terrifying to me more than anything, is trying to have any kind of rhythm. So I was like, okay, I really pushed myself, and I really was practicing all the time to try and get there. But the accent, yeah, I always knew it was going to be a part of my career. I never thought Jersey was going to be a part of my career, but luckily I had an amazing dialect coach, and I only got a few sessions with him, but he gave me these tapes to listen to, and I just on repeat. It was like I was switching between rap songs and dialect, like just talk to, and that's basically all I did in the months leading up to Patti Cakes. And that was incredibly helpful, because I think when you're hearing a sound, it's so normal. And a standard American accent has always been something I can do, because you have to learn how to do that pretty straight up when you plan on having a career in acting in general. So I learned that, and I knew how to do that. And then when I was filming Patti Cakes, I was so in the Jersey accent, I could not for the life of me do a standard American, if you ask me. I was like, I don't know how that's just disappeared from my knowledge, but I'm so in this Jersey world, I cannot do that. But now, if you ask me to do a Jersey accent right now, I wouldn't be able to do a good one straight away. Like, I would have to re-listen. It's just, I need it in my brain hearing it before I can do it. So that's what I do. I just listen to that constantly while I'm shooting. But I don't know. It's a weird thing for sure. I just actually did an audiobook for the first time, and I had to do an American accent for it. Yeah. And I never realized quite how difficult that would be. Like, just speaking for 8 hours a day in a completely different accent, like blind reading. Because when you're acting, at least, you're like, I've memorized these lines almost with the dialect. When you're reading off the cusp in another accent, I was like, wow. And there were certain words, it was just, we would stop and start laughing, because I just could not, I could say it solo, and then at the end of a sentence, for some reason, I was like, this is not coming out the right way. Like, what? Accents are funny. It's a very interesting thing.
What were some of the words that were tripping you up?
This one's coming to mind because we laughed about this one for so long, but it's kind of embarrassing. But condom. I say condom. Americans say condom, right? Yeah. Like condom.
Yeah.
And for the life of me, it was like a rhythm thing. It was at the very end of a really long sentence, and I was like, okay, condom, I got it. And I would go back, and every single time I was like, oh my God. Every single time. And we did it honestly about 20 times. And it was just, they were just laughing. They were just like, let's leave it and come back to that sentence, because my brain could not wrap itself around that word. And I say something instead of something, I guess. I put a K on the end, which my friend has told me before. And then it really became evident in recording. It's weird, the things that you pick up on. You're like, oh wow, that's something I do. Cool. It's weird.
It's nice that you've got your friends there to remind you of it every day.
Yeah, they're like, I told you do that. And I was like, I know. I didn't think that would ever be a problem, but it is.
I really appreciate you taking time to chat with us today, not just about the show, but all of your other work as well. So thank you so much, and I hope that your day-to-day continues being creative and productive over the next few weeks.
Yes, you too. Stay safe, and thanks for having me.